Earth stayed quiet when the calls came again and again. The Interstellar Council sent messages in calm tones and formal words, but no human voice ever answered. For years, the Council tried to bring Earth into talks about safety, shared space lanes, and rising border tensions. Each time, the screen remained dark and silent. Some species laughed and said humans were too scared, while others felt uneasy and unsure. They did not understand what this silence truly meant. Watch the record scroll across her console inside the council observation hall. She was young for her position, but she paid more attention than most. She noticed how the pattern repeated with calm precision. Each summit request went unanswered. Each follow-up message dissolved into quiet static. Leaned back in her chair and wondered why a world with such fast growth would suddenly vanish from all talks. She did not say it out loud, but her mind kept circling one thought. Earth was not ignoring them by mistake. Far away on a small monitoring moon near the solar boundary, Clark sat alone in a dim control room. He watched waves of light flicker across a wide sky window. Small readings whispered of movement, power build up, and controlled motion. Nothing hostile appeared, yet nothing natural matched the pattern either. Typed slow notes into his system log. The data told him that something large was forming, but no official orders followed. Silence was all he received, even from his own command lines deeper in human space. Inside a hidden defense complex, Brooks moved through long halls of soft white light. Walls displayed ship layouts and training paths. The space felt calm, but every worker moved with purpose. She observed teams preparing vessels without public notice. No loud celebration. No news broadcast, only quiet hands and sharp focus. Rows of dark ships rested in massive docks as engineers checked their frames and tested their systems. Each one looked ready for a future that no outsider could see. Paused before a wide viewing panel. Beyond it, a cruiser slowly rotated in place. Its surface held no bright marks, only smooth strength and silent promise. She remembered when the order came, not to speak, not to explain, just prepare and wait. Even among humans, many did not know the full plan. Only a few understood the scale of what was coming, and they carried that weight without showing fear. In another sector, Cole studied long reports that spoke of distant threats and careless alien debates. He read how some foreign powers called Earth a random backwater planet, a place that would fold at the first sign of pressure. Those words left no anger in his face. They only confirmed what he already knew. A calm resolve settled in his mind. If the universe believed humans were weak, then the universe would soon learn from that mistake. Turn 2, who stood beside a glass table filled with star maps and shifting lines. She pointed to several marks far from the core systems. These were places where human presence grew unseen. She spoke clearly and simply about energy control, fleet bonding, and layered response lines. Listened, nodding once in quiet approval. This was not chaos. This was planning built over silent years. Beyond them, Mason led a crew testing a new line of core drives. Bright arcs of light danced through metal coils as the system hummed at safe levels. Wiped sweat from his brow but showed no complaint. Each success brought another ship closer to full readiness. Every test was another step in a path that no diplomat could stop or mimic. He knew one truth. When the moment arrived, the designs must not fail. In the far reach of space, Sanders guided a scout vessel through cold darkness. Stars stretched like distant pinpoints across empty time. Her job was simple: observe and report. She tracked slow-moving alien patrols that drifted with easy confidence. Their wide arcs told her they did not expect any threat. They waved messages of routine control, unaware of how close human borders truly stood. Sent short updates back to command, keeping her voice calm and steady. On Earth, cities continued their normal rhythm. People rushed to work, children walked to school, and lights filled the night sky. Most citizens knew little about the deep silence that filled space beyond their world. They lived unaware that massive forces moved in hidden balance. A few sensed it, though, in the way air felt heavy before a storm. Change always left a quiet sign before its arrival. Within secure sectors, simulations ran night and day. Holograms displayed countless conflict outcomes. Analysts adjusted minor variables again and again. They were not searching for war but for control, stability, and firm deterrence. They wanted a presence so strong that no enemy would dare move first. It was a strange peace they aimed for, built on absolute readiness. Clark reviewed more data from his post. The readings showed perfect alignment cycles, organized movement, controlled ignition. It was clear to him now, an armada was forming. Yet still no command spoke of it. He felt no fear, only a calm sense of purpose. Silence was not confusion, it was discipline. Back at the council hall, watched delegates argue over how to respond to Earth's absence. Some demanded trade limits. Others suggested forced observation missions. She listened with quiet eyes as they spoke of humans like a problem to be solved. None of them considered the thought that humans might be preparing something far larger than simple defense. Opened a private channel to review past human records. She saw patterns of endurance, innovation, and fast adaptation. She studied how they once rebuilt entire systems after near collapse. The more she saw, the more doubt grew toward the Council's easy dismissals. She whispered softly to herself that silence could be a warning as much as a weakness. In the hidden command core, Brooks confirmed another launch schedule. The fleet assembly continued piece by piece. Engines warmed, navigation systems synced, and armor plating locked into final position. Every step followed clean order. No rush. No error. Patience had shaped this moment long before any outsider realized it was happening. Cole stood alone before a long strip window facing silent stars. He did not speak. He only watched as distant pinpoints of light moved slowly into perfect arrangement. Years ago, Earth had chosen a different path. Not disorder, not panic, but steady preparation. The Council's summits were ignored because humans needed no approval to protect their future. Sanders adjusted her course again, watching alien fleets drift in careless harmony. They had no idea that thousands of human ships now aligned beyond visible space. Their calm movements spoke of comfort, not caution. Felt a quiet edge of tension, but she trusted the plan unfolding behind her. Mason finished another report and sent the green signal through encrypted lines. One more core drive passed final test. One more ship moved closer to silent launch readiness. Each success tightened the unseen chain forming around Earth's defenses. And still, the galaxy slept in false peace. Back on Earth, the sun set and rose as always. Oceans rolled and winds shifted. Everyday life moved forward without pause. Yet behind deep layers of secrecy, a quiet decision shaped the path of stars. Humanity would not explain its silence. It would show its meaning when the time was right. Closed her files and stared at the dark window beyond the council hall. She felt the universe breathing slowly, as if waiting for a single motion. She knew, deep inside, that the stillness would not last forever. And when it ended, everything known about power and presence would change forever. The silence that surrounded Earth began to feel heavy across the wider system lanes. Trade routes passed by human space with strange caution. Long-range ships reduced speed when they drifted near the outer edges of the solar zone. Whispers passed between alien crews, quiet and unsure, speaking of missing signals and closed doors. Still, no human voice answered, and no clear sign came from the planet that once spoke loud and often. Remained restless in the council hall. She watched as debate after debate led nowhere. Some leaders still mocked Earth, calling its silence a sign of fear. Others kept their tones soft but cautious, saying unknown actions could hide great danger. Did not join either side. She only watched and listened, letting every detail settle into her thoughts. She had seen enough races fall by underestimating those who chose quiet preparation over proud display. Far from the council, Clark checked his systems again. The light waves across his screen carried clearer patterns now. Perfect cycles, timed pulses, and gentle corrections spoke of guided fleets. It was no longer just theory. A massive force was taking shape. Still, no direct message came from human command. His role was observation, and he accepted it with steady calm. Sometimes he wondered if the silence was meant to test his patience as well. Within the deep assembly docks, Brooks approved another wave of final calibrations. Her eyes followed the slow movement of cranes and drone arms as they fitted armor plates and secured energy lines. The air smelled faintly of warm metal and clean ozone. Every detail mattered. Each ship had to respond as one whole when the moment arrived. She did not speak much, but her presence kept every worker focused and steady. Cole met again within the command core. Star maps shifted across the room like gentle waves, traced quiet routes that led far beyond current influence zones. She spoke of pressure balance, timing windows, and controlled visibility. Understood. Humanity did not need surprise chaos. It needed calm dominance that would settle all conflict before it even began. Mason walked between towering engine housings, listening for any sound that hinted flaw or failure. The machines hummed with deep power, smooth and even. His team ran constant test loops, checking performance under simulated strain. Each core burned with silent force, ready to carry massive vessels across folded space without warning, took pride in every quiet success. Perfection had no need for applause. Sanders drifted near the shadow line of a distant binary star. From there, she observed foreign fleets moving in routine motion. Large cruisers and escort ships passed without care. They transmitted standard patrol codes and relaxed tone reports. It told her they still believed Earth posed no serious threat. She marked their positions and forwarded the information to Central Command, her face calm and unreadable. On Earth, quiet meetings took place behind closed doors. Civilian leaders trusted the military planners, though they knew little of the grand design. They only understood one thing: Earth would not beg for respect. It would earn it through strength and patience. Streets stayed busy, smoke rose from factories, and life continued in soft rhythm, far from the brewing tension above the atmosphere. Requested access to deeper archives. Approved under her role, she studied old patterns of human defense history. She saw records of times when silence came before swift action, moments where quiet planning led to sudden decisive control. These patterns told her more than words ever could. She began to realize that every ignored summit was not neglect, but strategy in clean form. Clark noted a new change in the signal flow, formation tightening, synchronization rising. Ships were no longer shadow shapes. They were organized, sharp, and ready. He felt a slow breath leave his chest as the truth settled in his mind. The human armada was nearing full readiness. What followed was not chaos but chosen timing. Brooks reviewed crew readiness across multiple sectors. Thousands of trained personnel sat prepared in silence. They did not shout slogans. They did not cheer. They followed their routines with calm precision. Each knew their role by instinct. There was no panic, only patient resolve. Their discipline carried a quiet confidence that words could not match. Cole recorded a private transmission meant for later release. Its words were simple, clear, and firm. It carried no threats, only a statement of presence and purpose. He sealed it and placed it within the command system, knowing the moment for its voice would arrive at the right second. Alien observers began to notice unusual calm around human zones. Trade ships reported strange gaps in signal traffic. Some captains turned away, uneasy and unsure. Others pressed closer, curious but cautious. Rumors spread across stations and relay hubs, but no clear answer formed. Earth remained silent, and silence always fed fear. Sanders detected a small alien recon group moving too close to human space. They scanned lightly, testing response range. She did not interfere. Command had already calculated this move. The recon group received no alarms, no challenge. Their logs would show empty space, a false sense of safety that would later haunt their reports. Mason approved the final sequence for several heavy carriers. These vessels dwarfed smaller cruisers, carrying entire strike wings within their hulls. Each one locked into the growing formation beyond visible range. The Armada now moved like a sleeping giant, calm and ready, waiting for its moment to step forward. Brooks stood once more before the viewing panel. The line of warships extended farther than eyes could follow. Soft lights glowed along their edges, steady and controlled. No music played. No voices rose. Only the deep, quiet hum of power systems filled the chamber. She knew the universe would soon notice what it had ignored. At the council hall, listened as tension rose in the room. Leaders spoke more sharply now. Doubts filled their tones. They began to ask why Earth still refused contact. She wanted to speak, to warn them, but her words felt thin compared to the truth forming beyond their reach. She stayed still, her eyes steady on the dark projection of human space. Clark received a short-coded update at last. The text was brief, almost simple. Maintain position. Continue observation. Prepare for phase shift. His hands hovered over the console as he read it. This was the first direct sign in months. The plan had entered its final stage. Cole gathered his core team. No speeches, only clear instruction and calm focus. They confirmed final alignments across all vectors. Timing windows narrowed. Energy flows stabilized. The system locked into readiness. There was no room for error now, only execution. Sanders adjusted her ship once more and slowed to a near halt. The darkness before her felt thick, like the breath before thunder. Her sensors showed faint pressure changes in local space. The Armada was preparing to move. Though she had trained for this, a quiet shiver ran through her arms, not from fear, but from the knowledge that history was about to turn. Mason watched as core drives shifted into dormant standby, ready for instant ignition. Each one pulsed once, calm and strong. He allowed himself a slow breath. The engineering was complete. Nothing more could be added or corrected. Brooks signed the final clearance. Her hand did not shake. Years of planning had led to this point. The choice had been made long ago. Now the universe would simply receive the answer. Sensed change even without data. The stillness in the council chamber felt unnatural. A soft wave of unease spread across the delegates. She looked toward the wide window once more, feeling as if unseen eyes awaited her beyond the stars. Clark stared at his monitors as the first distortion registered. Space bent gently like cloth under slow pressure. Lines of light twisted and reformed. The Armada was shifting from quiet assembly to active presence. He whispered no words. None were needed. In the command core, Cole lowered his gaze, closing his eyes for one short moment. Then he opened them with clear focus. The era of silence ended. The era of presence was about to begin. And across the universe, invisible ripples moved outward. Systems trembled at faint readings they could not yet explain. Distant scanners glowed with sudden energy surges. Every quiet corner of space felt the change, even before it could be seen. Earth was no longer waiting. It was rising. Space shifted as if it took a slow breath. Lines of light bent and twisted across empty darkness. Then, in one measured moment, the first human warship broke through the fold. It did not rush. It did not flare with wild noise. It simply arrived, calm and solid, like a wall forming where there had once been only air. Behind it came another, and then another, until the void filled with silent metal and controlled light. Clark watched in quiet awe from his distant post. The screen before him filled with symbols and data streams as thousands of signatures appeared at once. Each matched human design patterns. Each moved with exact distance from the next. This was not random arrival. This was perfect order. The Armada emerged as if guided by one steady mind. On the bridge of a forward cruiser, Gray stood with relaxed shoulders and focused eyes. He watched the forward display as ship after ship locked into assigned position. His voice stayed even as he issued soft commands. Adjust vectors, confirm spacing, hold formation. The crew responded with smooth precision. No panic touched their faces. They had trained for this calm arrival hundreds of times in quiet rooms and deep simulations. Behind the front line, heavier carriers slid into place. their vast shadows covering stars like passing night. Escort wings traced slow arcs around them, each path careful and exact. The entire structure formed a wide, layered presence that stretched beyond natural sight. To any viewer, it would feel less like a fleet and more like a moving horizon. Sanders drifted just outside the main formation, watching as the human ships filled the darkness. Even she, who had known this moment was coming, felt a deep pull in her chest. The power before her was not loud or violent. It was calm and certain. Her sensors overflowed with readings, each confirming one truth. No force had ever gathered so smoothly, so silently, and so completely. Far across nearby systems, alien scanners suddenly flared. Bright alarms sounded as unknown mass signatures tore into local space. Commanders turned sharply to glowing displays, their eyes wide with confusion. Reports flooded in from patrols and outposts. Large formation detected. Unknown fleet. Scale beyond reference. The words repeated, spreading fear with each signal bounce. On the council world, watched as the entire chamber filled with urgent alerts. Panicked voices rose. Screens shifted from debate charts to live star feeds. Then they saw it. Row after row of human ships, stretching farther than their vision could follow. The silence that followed was heavier than any sound that came before. Some leaders muttered in disbelief. Others leaned back in stiff shock. None spoke for several long seconds. Felt her heart slow, not from fear but from understanding. Earth had not hidden in silence. It had grown teeth and armor, and it had done so without noise. Within the command core, Cole observed the holographic view of the full Armada. Every unit glowed green in steady indicators. Energy levels remained stable. Stress readings came back clean. Stood beside him, her expression calm but intense. The plan unfolded exactly as designed. There was no rush, only controlled presence. Gray allowed the fleet to settle into perfect symmetry. No aggressive motion, no weapon discharge, only balance and silent dominance. He knew the sight alone would send waves through foreign command chains. Power did not always need to strike. Sometimes it only needed to be seen. Clark shifted channels and sent a simple status update. Formation complete. No resistance detected. He paused and looked again at the sea of metal formed across the void. For the first time since his assignment began, a faint smile touched his face. The silence was no longer empty. It had shape, weight, and meaning. Sanders noticed several alien vessels drifting closer, unsure and hesitant. Their movement lacked confidence now. Their earlier casual paths changed to cautious curves. Some slowed. Some pulled back. The Armada did not react. It simply held its line, as steady as a mountain range formed in space. On the Council planet, saw emergency votes called and quick messages passed between nervous hands. Leaders demanded immediate contact from human command. The tone of their requests shifted from demand to appeal. Respect filled each word now, born from visible reality, not polite fiction. Cole prepared the long sealed message, the one recorded in simple terms without threat or boast. His hand hovered over the release control. He nodded once toward the display and gave the quiet order, "Send transmission." A calm human signal flowed outward, cutting through open channels and secured lines alike. It carried no harsh tone, no raised voice, only clear and steady words that spoke of presence, readiness, and choice. Humanity stood not as a beggar, not as a rebel, but as a force that had decided its own place among the stars. Gray listened to the broadcast from the bridge. No change in his stance, no cheer from his crew. They understood this was larger than pride. This was a message to the entire known universe. Earth was no longer a question. It was an answer. Alien commanders froze as the final words arrived. Some lowered their voices. Some ended aggressive plans mid-sentence. Others simply stared at the data flowing before them. Every simulation they had ever run, every assumption they had built, now felt thin and broken. Clark leaned back slowly, letting the reality settle. He had witnessed the moment the galaxy shifted. He knew this image would echo through history logs for centuries. The day Earth emerged not as a whisper, but as a controlled storm. Sanders turned her vessel slightly, observing the curvature of the formation. Even from her remote position, she could sense the discipline and unity flowing through every line. Thousands of lives moved as one idea. Not a weapon raised yet, but power beyond denial already on display. Back at the council hall, watched as fear slowly turned into forced respect. Delegations whispered plans for apology and renewed talks. Alliances shifted before her eyes. Voices that once mocked now spoke carefully of cooperation. She knew the lesson was simple. Silence from a strong hand was not weakness. It was patience. Inside the command core, reviewed minor fluctuations in spatial pressure. Everything stayed within acceptable range. The system remained steady. Cole allowed a single slow breath to leave his chest. The hardest part was complete. The display had spoken more than any debate ever could. Hours passed, yet the formation held without change. No shots fired, no warnings issued, only presence. The message lingered heavy and clear. Humanity was not here to beg for place. It claimed it through calm strength. Gray walked across the bridge slowly, observing his team. Each officer worked with soft focus. They did not celebrate. They did not relax. They understood the quiet balance was still fragile. This moment demanded control and restraint, not pride and noise. Clark checked incoming feedback from nearby systems. Reaction levels showed rising caution, falling aggression, and increased diplomatic traffic. As data flowed in, one truth stood firm. The galaxy had changed its breath rhythm, and Earth had guided that shift. Sanders felt a soft vibration through her craft as spatial fields stabilized. She looked out at the vast human fleet once more. The sight did not grow smaller or dull. It stayed sharp and overwhelming. She knew every world watching would remember this alignment forever. In the distance, the first official reply from the council formed. Its words came slow and careful, respectful in tone, seeking dialogue. Watched it transmit, knowing it would reach the human fleet now visible to all. The power balance had changed, and everyone understood who had moved the scale. Cole received the incoming signal and allowed it to cue. He did not rush to answer. Humanity had waited long in silence. A little more time would remind the universe of who now controlled the pace. The void stayed quiet. The fleet stayed still. Stars reflected across steel surfaces like distant memories. And in that moment, the galaxy realized that Earth had not emerged to threaten. It had emerged to define a new order where strength and discipline shaped peace itself. The great human fleet remained still, holding its position like an unmovable line against the endless dark. No weapons fired. No sudden motion broke the calm. Every ship stayed in perfect order, as if time itself had paused around them. This quiet power pressed into the minds of every watcher across nearby systems, shaping their thoughts without a single demand. On the council world, watched the live feed as leaders struggled to adjust to the new reality. Their voices grew softer. Their movements slowed. The fear that once filled the hall began to settle into careful respect. She saw the truth clearly. The universe now looked to Earth not as a problem, but as a balance point. The council sent its first full reply, shaped with polite tone and cautious care. It spoke of peace, concern, and hope for mutual understanding. Listened as it passed through open channels toward the human fleet. For years, such words had been ignored by Earth. Now every leader wondered if silence would strike back once more. Within the command core, Cole read the message in full. His expression remained calm and unmoved. Stood beside him, studying reaction waves from distant systems. Hostility dropped. Fear softened. Diplomatic flows increased across relay hubs. Everything moved as quiet prediction had foreseen. Spoke only a few words. Prepare reply. Keep tone level. Maintain presence. The order passed through silent lines, shaping the second part of humanity's response. On the bridge, Gray watched as the first alien envoy ship approached from afar. Its lights blinked slowly in cautious rhythm. No escort surrounded it. No threat posture formed. It moved like a hand extended rather than a blade raised, remained composed, observing every detail without emotion. Sanders tracked the small vessel's path. Her systems recorded its shape and signal pattern. It drifted closer, slowing as it reached safe boundary range. Her screen glowed with identification scans and translation hooks. Human command allowed it to hold position, still without any aggressive sign. Clark monitored the quiet shift in atmosphere across nearby channels. Tension eased in gradual waves. Movement levels dropped. Weapon activation alerts faded. What had once felt like a storm now softened into a carefully controlled stillness. To him, this calm felt deeper than fear and stronger than force. Cole initiated the outbound response. A clear human voice filled the void. It spoke of careful boundaries, mutual respect, and aligned survival. It stated that Earth would no longer attend summits that spoke down to it. From now on, communication would stand on equal level. Not submission, not dominance, but stable presence shaped by strength. On the Council world listened closely to every word. The tone held no pride, no threat, only clear definition of terms. She felt a quiet sense of relief sweep through her. War did not need to follow power when discipline guided it. The alien envoy transmitted again, its words mild and open. It requested limited approach and shared exchange. Gray reviewed the terms before passing them to Central Command. Cole allowed short-range meeting access under strict zone control. The fleet adjusted its pattern slightly, forming a controlled corridor without breaking the greater alignment. Sanders watched as the envoy moved through the opening space. Even this small shift showed careful intent. Earth was not just presenting power, it was shaping the flow of interaction itself. Clark continued to record every signal and reaction. He noted how foreign fleets stayed distant and still. None crossed into unsafe zones. None tested limits. The Armada's silent presence had already taught clear lessons. On one human vessel, selected officers prepared for secure visual contact. The scene was calm and controlled. No banners waved. No grand show played. This was not a parade. It was a line drawn across history. Gray observed from his bridge as the meeting window opened. Alien forms appeared, cautious yet curious. Their translated words carried quiet respect. They spoke of fear, surprise, and reconsideration. Replied in short, basic replies, keeping tone direct and grounded. No exaggeration stood in his voice. Only truth. Felt a strange relief as she watched diplomacy unfold. The fear that had once filled the council chambers melted into thoughtful silence. Now the same leaders listened instead of speaking over one another. Earth's arrival had forced reflection where noise once ruled. Cole allowed dialogue to continue at measured pace. He did not push demands. He did not rush replies. Control of time itself had become a tool, guiding the tone of every exchange. Patience now worked in both directions. Sanders tracked background movement across the wider zone. Several distant fleets began pulling back from contested sectors. Trade routes reopened under mutual notice. Ships requesting guidance flowed through new communication lines. Order returned not through force, but through clarity. Clark reviewed updated status feeds. System stability increased. Surrounding zones cooled from red alert to yellow, then to calm blue. He knew this change was not accident. It was effect, carefully built and released at the chosen moment. On Earth, people slowly began to notice strange headlines. Reports of large space events, mentions of diplomatic shifts and renewed security presence. Still, daily life moved on. Children played, workers traveled. Only faint awareness touched the surface of everyday routine. In the secure command center, Cole allowed a short break of silence. He stepped closer to the observation window and watched the human fleet stretch into silent infinity. He knew the difference now was simple. Humans no longer reacted to fear. They shaped the path of it. Gray maintained fleet alignment without change. The ships remained steady, holding shape like a pillar that refused bending. No fatigue showed across crew lines. Discipline held stronger than any thrill of power. The alien envoy ended its first session and slowly from the corridor. Its tone remained respectful. No threat lingered. This was the first true proof that the message had landed. Closed her eyes for a brief moment as calm returned to the hall. The debates faded into controlled discussions. Emergency voices softened. The universe had moved into a new phase, and she had witnessed its key moment. Clark leaned forward as fresh signals rippled across his screen. Cooperation tags increased. Peaceful exchange markers rose. Defense readiness dropped slightly without loss of awareness. Everything aligned toward stability. Sanders allowed her ship to float quietly as the massive fleet reflected distant starlight. She felt pride, not loud or wild, but steady and warm. Humanity had stepped forward not as a conqueror, but as a force that chose control over chaos. Cole returned to his station and recorded a final internal note. Phase 4 complete, presence secured, balance achieved. He sealed the file and let silence return to the room. Beyond visible range, the galaxy continued to shift its thinking. Old assumptions broke under new weight. Former threats revised their plans. Alliances adjusted their stance. Everything now turned around a single truth. Earth had defined the line. Gray stood at ease, watching the horizon of human ships. He knew this peace was not perfect and challenges would still rise. But for now, stability ruled the moment. And stability was earned, not given. Wrote her final observation report. She did not describe fear or shock. She described calm strength, clear intent, and patient design. She knew future generations would read these words as history turned real. Clark logged his station data and allowed his eyes a moment's rest. The star field before him no longer felt empty. It felt guarded, shaped, and alive. Sanders continued her watch as hours passed into steady quiet. The fleet remained unchanged, like a timeless guardian of space itself. The balance held firm, shaped by human will and steady purpose. And across the vast silence of space, the message echoed without sound. Earth had not come to shout, it had come to stand. And by standing, it had rewritten the path of stars forever.